Welcome to another edition of One-on-One with Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week, not one, but two former members of the Scorpions. Up first, Herman Rarebell talks about his time with the band, part of the quote-unquote classic lineup. We also talk about his current situation with Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock and their new live BluRay DVD CD, Live in Madrid, which comes out later this year. And I ask him about the Scorpions' relationship with bassist Francis Buchholz. If you remember, or if you've seen the new 50th anniversary deluxe edition, they interview everybody. Herman, Uli, Klaus, Rudolph, etc., but no Francis, so I ask him why he thinks that is. On the other side, the second part, I've got ULI JON ROTH again, former guitarist for the Scorpions, I should say. And we did this whole 1 hour interview about a month ago or 2 months ago where he went through his entire career. So this one is really just a refresher. He's announced that he's going to do the Tokyo tapes revisited, Scorpions Tokyo tapes revisited. So I asked him about that. And then I asked him, would he ever consider, since he's done Scorpions Revisited the album and now, of course, Tokyo tapes, would he ever consider doing a 1980s revisited of the Scorpions? Even though he didn't play on those songs, would he potentially consider playing on Rock You Like a Hurricane and Big City Nights? And so to show the fans what his solos would have sounded like on that. And, of course, he does have an answer, and it's quite intriguing. So enough with this chit-chat. Let's get right to the interviews. Up first, here he is, drummer extraordinaire, the one, the only, Herman Rarebell. We are speaking with drummer Herman Rarebell, formerly of the Scorpions, now with Temple of Rock, featuring Michael Schenker and, of course, Francis Buchholz. Herman, a pleasure to speak with you.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasant to speak to you, too.
Yeah, so let's talk about the new band first, Temple of Rock. First of all, is it fair to call it a band, or is it still a Michael Schenker solo project?
No, I think this is absolutely band now. That's the reason why Michael Schenker called it Temple of Rock, because we are the Temple of Rock. You know, the three of us basically forming the basics. You know, now we have Doogie White as our lead singer and Wayne Findlay, you know, playing keyboards and second guitar in the band. So we are a band, yeah. And as you can see, it's also a band album. I don't know if you heard it.
Oh, not only did I hear it, I bought the Japanese versions of all of them. So I have Spirit on the Mission, I have Bridge the Gap, I have the Live in Europe, and in fact, they are currently in my iPhone. And I was listening to the Live in Europe the other day, and it's just fantastic. The playing is fantastic.
I can tell you there's something great coming out. We recorded the live album in Madrid on the 19th of November 2015, and I just saw it, you know, a week ago. It looks and sounds amazing. It was one of the best concerts, if not the best concert we ever played with Temple of Rock. The audience is completely fantastic, goes completely crazy. And here you can play as a 2 hour, 10-minute set, you know. So I think this is a really good treat for all the fans. As I said, coming out in May.
Oh, so there's a new one coming out on top of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The new DVD comes out in May. It's called Live in Madrid.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Now, the one that I listened to in the past here was the Live in Europe, which was done, I guess, in Tilburg. Talk to me a little bit about that one, or in fact, the Madrid one. Will there be also a CD to accompany it? Because the last one had the whole...
Yes. Yeah, there will be both. There will be the CD, you know, so you can take it in the car, and obviously the Blu-ray and DVD, you know, so you have all the formats, you know, to watch it. And I can tell you, it makes everything else we did before live, you know. I'm not really going crazy about this, but because it is so outstanding and I'm so excited about it, I can't wait for you to see it and to hear it.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. So talk to me about finding Francis back in the band or back with you on the rhythm section, because that section through the Scorpion years was brilliant. And, of course, Francis left, you left. What's it like having him back and playing with him?
It's fantastic. You know, what happened was I live in Brighton in England, as you know, since
Right.
2008. I moved back into England. And in 2010, by coincidence, Michael Schenker and myself met in Brighton again. One day I was just walking along the seaside, and Michael also, and we just really met by coincidence. What are you doing here? And I said, I live here. And he said, oh, and I live over there. So he literally lived 300 yards away from me. And then we being old friends, we started to play again across the street from my house in Brighton. There's a sound studio, and we went in there and we played. And so the first bass player actually in this outfit was Pete Ray. He was
Right.
the first one to join us around 2011. End of 2010, beginning of 2011, and we even did the High Voltage Festival with Pete, as you know.
Yeah, I do.
And so then, as you know, Pete has still a big, maybe he doesn't have it now anymore, but then he had a big alcohol problem. So we tried to help him, but it didn't go away. So by the beginning or the end of 2011, beginning of 2012, Michael Schenker said to me, why don't you phone Francis and ask him to join us, because I think it would be good, you know. So I did that, and Francis and myself got back together again. You know, we put everything which was between us aside. We had a really nice night. We talked everything out. And then from that day, from 2012, Francis joined the Temple of Rock. And I think the same in you. It was a great decision that 3 ex-members of the Scorpions now play in this band. And also with Michael's background, with UFO and also with MSG, we can play, which you're going to see on the live DVD, a great mixture of Scorpion songs, UFO songs, MSG songs, and of course the new stuff from Temple of Rock.
Yeah, now you mentioned that you had to talk things out with Francis. Was there some kind of disagreement or some kind of ill will that you needed to work out?
Yeah, there were a lot of things to be worked out from the past, because we had a long fight with Francis, you know, in the court, you know, and those things, I worked them out with a conversation, eye-to-eye conversation between old friends. We worked it out on a very long dinner, and I think after we've been about on the 3rd bottle of red wine, you know, everything was set, you know, and clarified, you know,
Right.
which took lawyers many years, you know, to clarify, and it never got clarified. So we cleared it all in that night, and the old friendship came back. And obviously, when we played together, you could feel that we have been the rhythm section of the Scorpions, and obviously we've been very tight, you know.
Yeah, and I've got to say, that is one of the things, other than you and Michael playing on Temple of Rock, that actually attracted me to it, was having Francis there, because having all 3, and it was more than just a curiosity at that point. To me, it was like, okay, now we've got the band, we've got the guys, and
Absolutely.
Spirit on a Mission is just, it is solid from top to bottom. And of course, Doogie White singing doesn't hurt, but what a great man. Will there be another new album coming soon? After Madrid, will there be a new studio album?
Not for the moment, you know, because as you know, we've been actually really, me and Mike and I have been touring together since 2010, really,
Right.
constantly, you know. We've been all over Europe, all over the world, and we did it year after year after year. So I think now we come to a point, you know, where we deliver a fantastic live album now, live in Madrid, that can really show you the highest point of Temple of Rock as it is right now. So I think after this live DVD, there is now time to make another album. The question is when, you know. So it looks like right now that 2016 will be a year where we're probably not going to tour crazy, where we're going to go back and write stuff again, think about what we can do next year in 2017. But I think that live DVD will carry us up to 2017 because it is so good. And I think it is a great statement to the world and to our fans to say to them, look, that's what we achieved in the 5 years since we've been together. And we're all very proud of it, you know, because it sounds damn good.
It really does sound damn good. Now, you know, I'm looking at all my notes. There are so many questions, so I'll just take them in a random kind of order.
Okay.
You recently, or the Scorpions recently released 50th anniversary editions of Taken by Force, Love at First Sting, and all that. And you and Uli were invited to the studio to do these video montages or these video clips where you talk about your...
Yeah, where we talk about the songs and how the album got together, of course.
Yeah, and it's absolutely brilliant. But Francis isn't called in. Is it just more bad blood that they can't get past, or is it just something where the record company said, we got Uli and...
No, I think that the other three, also Klaus, Rudolf, and Matthias, still have something to work out with Francis, which I did, I went on the table, I sat there with them, and I talked it eye to eye, and I wish they would do the same, because it is so much clearer when you talk to somebody eye to eye than having all these conversations to lawyers. Because in the end, nobody wins. In the end, you make a settlement, both parties lose, the lawyers made the money. This is how usually long fights end in front of a court. And I did this, so the others have to still do that,
And I certainly hope they do, because otherwise it's all this stuff through lawyers and the media. But so let's look at those 50th anniversary editions.
And obviously, there's something I have to say also. Don't forget, in this 50th deluxe anniversary edition, when we were invited to the studio, from the record company to talk about those 8 albums, which we were on, which I called the golden years of the Scorpions. Obviously, I have a lot to say. I wrote about 35 songs, or co-wrote, with the band, and wrote a lot of lyrics on all those 8 albums, Also the title, Savage Amusement, Animal Magnetism, and Blackout were my ideas. So obviously, I have to talk about my ideas and how I created those lyrics, starting from Rock You Like a Hurricane over Dynamite, Blind, and Blackout, and Make It Real, and just to name a few. You know what I mean.
Yeah, and in fact, let me ask you about the songwriting, because when you came into the band for Taken by Force, the band had their albums before that, and I don't want to sound cliche, but drummers historically are not the guys who write the songs. It's the lead singers, the lead guitarist. Was that part of your audition? Were they looking for a songwriter, or do they just take you as a drummer and then later go, hey, this guy writes too. Hey, what do you know?
It was very simple. When they met me in England, I lived in England already from 71 to 77 when they found me in the spring of 77. In fact, Michael Schenker was the one who introduced me to the Scorpions, because he said to me, back then, look, because we were already friends then. He said to me, my brother has a band in Germany called the Scorpions. They're coming over here. They're going to play at the Marquis Club. Go and check them out. They're looking for a drummer, which I did. And then the same night, I met Rudolf in the Speakeasy, which was another hip club in London at the time. And Rudolf and myself got on tremendous. So we were in the same wavelengths. And he said to me, come tomorrow to the Sound Circus. We're doing auditions there for drummers. What they did not tell me when I went there, were another 50 other guys there, So what they did, they said, we're going to play 3 songs with each. But with most drummers, they stopped already after 1 song. Anyway, to make a long story short, I got the gig and joined the Scorpions, and the rest I don't have to tell you. But but because being so long in England, I spoke the best English at the time in the band. And so when it came to the song "He's a Woman, She's a Man," which was my first lyrics, they had no lyrics for the song. So I came actually up with the title "He's a Woman, She's a Man" because one day we did a promotion trip to Paris. And when we drove to the red light district of Paris, we saw this beautiful woman, which was a transvestite, which was a guy who came to the window of the car. We opened the window. Hi, guys, how are you? So he's a woman, she's a man. That's how this story got together.
Right, and I guess years later, Aerosmith did "Dude Looks Like a Lady," which I guess was sort of taking from your concept. Taken by Force, at the time, with Uli and the band, the Scorpions were successful in Europe. They were doing European tours all the time. They would get over to Japan. North America was sort of the big bugaboo. When you joined, what changed within the band that all of a sudden they decided to conquer America, and America said, yeah, we like this band? Was it just musically, or was it a game plan?
It was a dream. it was really a dream, I had and Rudolf Schenker, I think the others at the time being then didn't really take us for serious. They thought we were dreamers, Also the record company, yes, we're going to go to America and conquer America. And the answer was, yeah, they've been waiting there for you over there for a German band who sings in English. Don't you think they have Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple? They don't need another heavy metal band. So this was usually the answers we got from the German record company. But our dream, at least my dream and Rudolf Schenker's dream was, to conquer America, conquer the world with the music and give happiness to all those people all over the planet. This was the dream we had when we were kids.
Right, and musically, the band changed a bit, too, because when you look back at Will Burn...
I can explain that to you, too. And when I joined the band, you were right, Uli was in the band, and Uli was very much Hendrix-orientated. Right. You can hear it on the songs, on the Tokyo Tapes album.
Yes.
Polar Nights, Hellcat, all this stuff is very Hendrix-orientated. And then the other half of the band, was... I said was melodic rock, like Uriah Heep or somebody like this, So when I saw them the first time at the Marquee Club, I could see the difference. One half was melodic rock, which was Klaus and Rudolf basically, and the others were influenced by Uli and Hendrix. So there was two directions in the band. In fact, when I joined, I said that to Rudolf. I said, look, to make the band successful, we have to decide on one style, and we have to play like a teamwork, not like one fantastic guitar player and we play the direction of Hendrix. We have to find a style which we all five play. And I think Matthias was the right guy for this. As you know, in 79, Michael Schenker played on Love Drive.
Yeah, absolutely. You also just mentioned in passing the album Savage Amusement.
Yeah.
Fans have sort of looked at that one as being the one album that doesn't really fit with the other ones. I happen to really like it. I think Passion Rules the Game and Rhythm of Love are great songs, but it's sort of like your Turbo or your Kiss the Elder for some reason. I don't understand. Talk to me a little bit about that album and what it meant for the band and what you were trying to say with it.
Well, I think in those days, you had the time, when all those over-perfect productions were out there, For example, Def Leppard, who was produced by Matt Langer, so you had those perfect productions. And I think Dieter Dierks also wanted to make the perfect production with Savage Amusement. That's why the album took 3 years to make, which is ridiculous when you think about it nowadays. But anyway, he wanted to make the perfect album. I wrote a song on there called Passion Rules the Game, and Klaus Meine wrote the lyrics for that song, But this shows you that song is still, for example, my wife's favorite song. She always says to me, Passion Rules the Game is my favorite song, because it's maybe a little bit different than, for example, Dynamite or Blackout, But I personally think this album was a very melodic album, and it was maybe a little bit different from the others. But I think this is the right thing to do. You can't just do every album the same stuff.
No, and I'm going to agree with your wife. The Passion Rules the Game is one of my all-time favorite Scorpion songs. And the band recently has redone it acoustic and so on and so forth. It just sounds great. It doesn't matter how it's played. It just sounds great.
That's a good song.
Early 80s. You, as a member of the Scorpions, go out on your own and you do a solo album, Nip in the Bud.
Yeah.
And then, of course, later on, Herman Z. German and Friends, and you have Don Dokken appear and stuff. What was going on there that you felt the need to step away? Because the Scorpions at that point were starting to become very successful. The uptick in the U.S. was certainly happening. Why step out and go, all right, let me do this?
I tell you, I had so many songs at the time, which I thought, they could fit to Scorpions, but then when we started to play some of them, it wouldn't fit at all. So I said, what am I going to do with all those songs? And I was already living in America at the time, and so I met, obviously, all those musicians from Don Dokken, Jack Russell, all those guys. Oh, Herman, let me sing on your album. So how this got together, because the album Nip in the Bud was the original album. The songs were all on there, but sung by one singer. So I did the whole album again in the States with different singers on each song. And this was called Herman Z. German and Friends, as you know.
Right, and of course Don Dawkins on there.
Well, Dawkins was one of them. Jack Russell. I even had Steve Marriott, on there, and I'm
Oh,
very
wow.
proud of that because Steve Marriott is a killer singer. He sang a song called "Having a Good Time," and it's still until this day also one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, I agree with that. You mentioned Dieter Dierks. He was sort of the producer in Germany, and your producer. What did he bring to the band in terms of sound and vision and anything else?
Oh, I think, without him, we would have never made it in America. Also, he had the connection to America, to Marvin Katz, a great lawyer over there. He was the one who had the connection also to Steve Lever and David Krebs, But in fact, it was Peter Mensch who phoned me first. But let's talk about Dieter. Dieter was the guy, who has the really perfect ears for great sound, and also he can hear a great song. So when we did, for example, Savage Amusement, when we came the first time in the studio in 85, 86, and he said to us, look, the songs you gave me right now are not good enough. Go back home and write some more stuff, then come back to me. So he was a very demanding producer and a very hard-working guy, but he made those albums sound so good,
Yeah. Dieter is your Mutt Lange or your Bob Ezrin.
Exactly. He is really the Six Scorpions. And when you listen to the box now, which came out on BMG here in Germany, did you get that box?
I bought all the 50th anniversary deluxe editions.
Then you know exactly what Dieter did, because all the outtakes are unbelievably good. There's one song on there called "Running for the Plane," which I think is a killer song, know.
Yeah.
And there's also a song I wrote on there with Rudolph called "Taste of Love." I think all those songs, outstanding songs, still on those the bonus songs, so to speak. All those songs come out of the area from Dieter Dierks. And when you hear those 8 albums, you know the real Scorpions. Then you know why the Scorpions became one of the most successful bands on this planet, because the band was really good then.
Yeah, the band was really good. Where do I want to go next? Taken by 4. Okay, so you said that recently that the 80s was the best period for rock stars to live in.
For me, yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, for you. Can we still have that in this day and age, or is that sort of gone forever?
I think it's gone forever, It starts with something very simple and something stupid. It makes me laugh when I just think about it, In those days, you could still fuck without a condom. Nowadays, that's impossible. As you know, then AIDS came around the corner. Actually, this whole thing stopped from the middle of the 80s onwards, as we all know. But just forget this joke for now. But I think the difference was also in the music, It was then really hard rock and heavy rock orientated, the complete 80s. You remember MTV, they played nothing else than rock from morning to night.
Yeah, and of course in Canada we had Much Music, and that's where I discovered all these great bands.
Yes.
Love at First Sting. The band heads over to Sweden, to the ABBA studios.
Yeah.
And they bring in the recently passed away Jimmy Bain, and on drums Bobby Rondinelli to cut some demos. Yeah. What was going on at the time with you and Francis where you weren't invited to those sessions?
No, I was at the session.
Okay.
I have to clarify this. Okay. I was in the studio with Dieter Dierks and with Rudolf and with Klaus, and I had a very, very strong alcohol problem. And the first guy who came in the studio was Jimmy Bain. I brought Jimmy Bain in, and because I knew him from England, and he didn't help my alcohol problem because he drank more than me, as you know. So it ended up with me not even being able to play. So I said to Dieter Dierks, I said, look, give me a break of about 2 months. I have to go and recover and get myself a treatment because I can't go on like this, So he said, I can't wait, so let me finish at least those demos, So they phoned Rondinelli as a session drummer to come in there, and they did the session. And then he phones me up. I was in treatment. He says, I can't use any of this material. It doesn't sound like Scorpions anymore. It sounds like some cover band playing Scorpion songs, but Rondinelli and Jimmy Bain are good musicians, but they don't fit in the style of the Scorpions. So you have to come out now and get the fucking trucks and play them all now. So I went over to Cologne and played the whole album there. And they had to erase everything Jimmy ever did and also Rondinelli, you know.
Okay, so Jimmy is not, because I've read also, I mean, it's sort of myth out there that he was uncredited but on the album. Was he?
Yeah, he's not on the album. That's why there's no credit about him.
Oh, okay, because
Now, what he did, he played during the time I was in hospital in treatment. He played about 2.5 weeks there at the ABBA studios, you know. But they couldn't use any of the material, you know. So Dieter said to me, there's no point, you know, keeping any of this. You have to come and play it because it doesn't sound like Scorpions. And then everything was erased, and that's the reason why he didn't get any credits.
Gotcha. Okay. 1982, Blackout comes out, and that seems to turn the tide for the band, especially in North America. You go from being this great German band to being the biggest band in the world. What was it specifically about Blackout that sort of changed the band's history?
Well, I think, you know, Blackout is one of those albums which has only good songs on them. Every song was a fantastic song, I think. And this is what made the big difference, you know. We hit the nerve of the time, so to speak. In America, you know, we hit right on the spot. We had some great songs for the radio on that album, you know, and so I think that was the key for the success, then, turning us into a headliner.
Yeah, and of course, after that, you focused a lot on the States. When Pure Instinct rolls around after Face the Heat, you decide that you've had enough, and you walk away from the Scorpions. And a couple of years ago, you gave an interview, and you said, well, it's because you hated the music. You just couldn't. The 1990s at that time with Nirvana and the grunge, and a lot of bands were lost, whether it was Def Leppard or Scorpions or Kiss. Everybody was sort of going, okay, what do we do next? Was it just that the Scorpions didn't know what to do next, or had they just...
I think when we came in the studio, we had a huge success at the time with Wind of Change, as you can imagine, you know. And Wind of Change was not a typical Scorpion song at all, you know. This was a very commercial, good song, and it became a worldwide hit, especially it was in favor of all the women all over the world. So with that song in mind, we approached Bruce Fairbairn to produce the band. And I remember the first meeting we had with him, he said to us, what do you guys want to do? And you remember, this grunge was around then, Nirvana, all those bands. You want to do another Wind of Change, or you want to do a rock album? And it came out of our mouths like Rudolf, me, Matthias, and me. He said, we want to do a rock album, you know. So he said, okay, then I produce you guys a rock album. And that's why he did this, and he did a great job with Face the Heat. But then Alienation, you cannot send Alienations to the radio station as a follow-up of Wind of Change. I said that very loudly to the record company and to everybody at the time around. And the reaction was like this. The radio station people phoned me up and they said to me, why are you sending me this song? I cannot play it on the station. You know that's much too heavy.
Yeah, it really was.
So it was much too heavy, you know. So this album actually was okay, but it didn't sell as many copies as all the others before, because there was already a change of style in this album. But I liked the album personally very much, and I think Bruce did a really good job here. But then there came a live album out Live Bites in Mexico, and I thought that is a good live album also. And after that, the band came into the thing. Suddenly, I didn't write any songs anymore. So I said to Klaus, what's happening? He said, well, I want to write the songs because I did a great job in Wind of Change with Rudolph, you know. So this was the first thing that pissed me off. And then the style of Pure Instinct, I didn't like at all. It was, for my taste, much too soft. There was no hard rock in there anymore, or heavy rock, you know, the style I like. So I said to myself, well, I think it is about time is over. We reached everything in life. The highest point of creativity is done. what else is there to do now anymore? And at the same time, I had an offer from Prince Albert of Monte Carlo, Monaco, to form Monaco Records. So I decided to call it a day, because there was, for me, nothing to do in this band anymore.
Right.
Suddenly, I was not asked anymore to write for them. Suddenly, I have to play music I didn't really like anymore, which I wasn't 100% behind. And so I thought it was time to quit.
Yeah, that strikes me as weird that you weren't asked to write anymore. I mean, you look at the songs that you've done, including Rock You Like a Hurricane, which is not only the biggest Scorpion song, just one of the biggest rock songs, period.
I couldn't believe it myself either, but this is what happened.
Did Wind a Change refocus them into thinking that now, okay, so it was like, we have this, I guess, for the lack of a better word, it's a ballad. We're going to have to go down this ballad route. Was it Klaus or Rudolph doing that, or was it the record company saying, okay, good, give us 5 more of those?
No, I think what happened was, that the band was not too crazy about this song, Wind of Change. Obviously, Klaus wrote the song, and I think it's a great song. I remember going to his house, and he whistled to me, the whistling.
Right.
The beginning. And he said, you have some words for this? I said, are you crazy? This is the commercial thing on the song. I predict the song is going to be a big hit. And as you know, it became a big hit. But Matthias and Rudolph weren't too keen of those songs, But anyway, the song became a big hit, and I think it's helped Crazy World to achieve those worldwide incredible sales because of this hit on it, And we were lucky at the time because the wall in Berlin came down, the East changed completely, as you know, the freedom in the Soviet Union. All those things came together, and all those things were demonstrated in the song Wind of Change, because it speaks about the Moscow Music Peace Festival and their Gorky Park and all the stuff. So I think that Wind of Change made a big change in the band. After that, I think Klaus felt like the king on earth, and that was the reason probably why he decided to write more songs in that direction. But as you can see on Poor Instinct, that was an album which didn't do well at all, actually. There was one song on there called You and I. That was the only song which was played on the radio here in Germany. But it did nothing in America or in England or anywhere else.
No, it didn't. And in fact, it might sound strange, but for me, the best song on Pure Instinct is the Japanese bonus track, She's Knocking at My Door. That's the only one that sort of moves along. Let me just go back.
I didn't play on that album anymore.
Yeah, I know.
2000 to Rudolph, I said, if you want somebody to play on this album, you better get a session drummer. And they found a guy here from Munich. His name is Kurt Kress,
Yeah.
But again, you can hear, on a long-time band who plays what, because a band is a band. That's where the name came from. So for me, I didn't stand behind this album at all anymore. And as you can see, the whole album was written by Klaus and by Rudolph, and I didn't think the songs were strong enough, simply.
Yeah, and mercifully, you weren't involved with Eye to Eye, but let me just go back.
No, nothing. Nobody involved me anymore, It started already, as I said, with Face the Heat before. But with Poor Instinct, it was like, you're not writing with us anymore now. We will write the songs just by ourselves. So I can only think about this, somebody wanted to cut me off completely here.
Yeah, which is sort of strange. Let me just go back to, you mentioned Alien Nation, which was, of course, the single on Face the Heat. An incredibly odd choice. Unholy Alliance is sort of the good song. I mean, the album's good, but you're right that after Winds a Change, it was hard to come up with these songs. Was Francis leaving at that time something that affected the chemistry and made the album?
No, Francis was already out of the band. Francis
of course.
Left the band in 1992. And then Ralf Rickerman came in the band.
Oh, right.
At the end of 92. And he played on Face the Heat.
Right.
This is Ralf Rickerman. You know that?
Yes. I know that. But in terms of making new albums, Crazy World did all this big stuff. Yeah. But this is the sort of the first album with Ralph, right? I mean, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah,
but...
it's the first album with Ralph.
Right. So
Francis was basically left after the Crazy World album.
Right. And so that's what I'm saying.
Album for Francis.
What was him not being there something that affected the overall product on Face the Heat, or was it other things that affected? Because, like you said...
I think at that time, the band had an argument with Francis, because Francis was the CEO of the Scorpions Limited Company. So there was a big fight about money inside the band, and after that album was over, the fight was not cleared. So the band took Francis to court and the people around him. And that court case lasted for nearly 20 years. Can you believe it? It cost millions and millions of dollars. And the outcome of this fight was a settlement from the lawyers from Francis' side, and our lawyers made a settlement after 20 years. And after we played those fuckers millions of dollars, they made a settlement. So we got nothing out of it. Francis got nothing out of it. And I made peace with Francis, as you know, and I think the others should make peace also with him, and then we should get back together and make a world tour and make a little money, but otherwise, this shows me exactly what lawyers can do to a band.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. It's one of those things that fans don't see. They don't see that side of the business, and they think, oh...
Yeah. But anyway, this is what happened then.
So now, I was going to ask you, would you like to play again with the Scorpions, even if it's just one song at a festival? But
no, I think what we should do, we should make one album in the original lineup and make a great goodbye to all our fans worldwide, and deliver them a new album with 12 killer songs. This is what we should do, and this is what you should do to honor your fans. You should give them your best, and you should come out with a killer album. But they think, what they're doing now is amazing. So what can you say? There's nothing you can say. You just sit there and think, if they don't get it, I'm not going to phone there every day and going to say, come on, let's do this.
Yeah, and to be fair to the Scorpions, I saw them in September in Montreal. Queensryche was opening up. The show was fantastic. I mean, they say what you want about any of them, but Klaus still delivers, one of the most unique voices in rock. Rudolph is a guitar god, and James Kotak on drums is a wonderful player.
It was me that picked them. No, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that the band is a bad band.
No, I understand that, but I would love to see you guys back in there. But then, of course, where do you draw the...
There's too many problems. I think, look, we all know old man. There's no point, to think about all those changes. We did, especially me. I had the best years with the Scorpions, the golden years, so to speak, and everything else after that was a sweet repeat, but the big hits were the ones where the years where I played with the bands, and
Absolutely.
I'm very proud of this, What I'm saying is, it would not hurt, and you would have not to do changes, to come out with one killer album with the original lineup. That's all. Then, if it is successful, tour it also.
Oh, I agree with you.
Especially when you have a 50 years anniversary deluxe box out with those people on it.
I agree with you, but I would go further. I would love to see you and Francis on the album. I would love to still see James on there, and I would love to see Michael and Uli on there, and just get everybody and make it, like you said, 12 songs, 14 songs, whatever, and everybody gets a little... And, of course, more importantly, have you write some of the songs, because we know you wrote the hits. Well, some of them, of course.
Well, when we finished afterwards, send me also on Facebook all your contacts, because I'm going to contact you in about 2 months, because I'm writing right now a lot of new stuff, and I'm going to record it also, so I want to hear your opinion about this.
Oh, absolutely. Great pleasure. Listen, there are so many questions and so many avenues we could have gone up, but I've already taken 40 minutes of your Sunday afternoon.
Okay. For me, Sunday evening.
Yeah, Sunday evening. Hopefully we can do a part 2 at some point, but I'll finish with this. What do you think those albums you made with the Scorpions, or let me rephrase that, what is the legacy of those albums and you and the Scorpions? How did you change the face of music?
Well, I think the albums, which I mentioned to you earlier, I think they made world history in rock. The band made world history with these albums. I'm talking especially let's do the first one, Love It First Thing. Then of course we have after the Savage Amusement, you have Blackout and Love It First Thing, Love Drive. So when you talk about those 5 albums, I think they made the band famous.
Oh, they absolutely did. And you put out 2 of the greatest live albums ever.
Yeah.
I'm going to flip a coin, but I'm going to say Tokyo Tapes is probably the greatest live album.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And of
it
course,
was also the second best album after Peter Frampton.
Yep.
Yeah, and so it's a killer album, live album. I also like Live Bites very much because it has a very good sound on it.
Yes.
But talking about those on the albums after that, where actually the albums made the band big in America, starting with Love Drive. Then after this, you have Animal Magnetism, Blackout, and then Love It First Thing. Those 5 albums made the band big worldwide.
They really did, and they're perfect albums. And I could go on forever and ever. There's talk about Doc McGee we could get into and all stuff, but we'll stop there for today. And thank you, an absolute pleasure. And I'm very much looking forward to the Temple of Rock live in Madrid and any new albums. And for those that are listening and never picked up Spirit on a Mission or Bridge the Gap, you've made a mistake, folks. You got to go buy them. They're fantastic.
No, I think, they're really good albums, especially when you get the live DVD now in May. Yeah. I can't wait to hear your reaction when you get it.
Oh, it's going to be, well, with Doogie there and you and Francis, it's going to be heavenly.
The Michael plays killer on that day, I must say. He's in top form on that day. And so let's see what comes. I just know in 2016 the main activity will be now this live DVD coming out, and then at the rest of the year probably write new songs, write a new album, do things like this, and then go out in 2017 again.
Yeah, and hopefully get
some.
some.
Have some time in 2016 now to do all these activities.
And hopefully get a few more North American shows. There's a lot of shows going on in Europe, a little bit going on here, but we need a lot more.
No problem. I will talk to the management about this. I think they're working on this anyway for 2017 to do something.
Oh, fantastic.
Let's see what happens now to the live DVD,
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll make sure to promote that as well. A great pleasure to speak with you this Sunday afternoon. And thank you for all the music. Those albums in the 80s were, They were my air, in a sense, right? Send
me your email address to my email address, so I'll send you some stuff when it's ready.
Absolutely. Thank you, Herman.
Yeah?
Yes.
Bye-bye, man. Bye.
Bye-bye now. And there you have it, folks. My interview with Scorpions great Herman Rarebell. But do not leave. There is more, a little extra, a bonus track, if you want, on this edition. Here is former guitarist ULI Jon Roth talking about his plans to make a Scorpions Tokyo Tapes Revisited. The one, the only. Here is ULI Jon Roth. We are speaking with guitarist ULI Jon Roth, formerly of the Scorpions, and of course now on the Ultimate Guitar Experience Tour. How is that going? I got to see it in Montreal last night. It sounded fantastic.
It's going really well. I'm very happy about this tour. Probably the best one I've done in the States so far. So, yeah, cool. Very good.
Yeah, it's a great tour. Now, not too long ago, we did a long 1-hour interview that sort of went through everything. Since then, though, you've announced that you might want to do Tokyo Tapes Revisited. Explain exactly what that would be.
It's not might, it's we're going to do it. In fact, we already have done it. It's just not released yet. So what it is the following. It's basically the counterpart to the live double album, the Scorpions Revisited. And because my original idea was to have a release that combined the two things, the live DVD and the recording. And then I gave up on that idea. It was just too complicated. And, I wasn't, I didn't find the show that I was really, really happy with until we played in Japan last year. And we recorded the entire show at Sun Plaza Hall in Tokyo, which was exactly the same hall that we used for Tokyo Tapes. And so that was the connection right there. And I had heard that they wanted to dismantle that hall for the Olympic Games in Tokyo. So I thought it would be great to do something like a farewell concert, and the promoter immediately said, yes, that's a great idea. Let's go for it. And that's how that came about. Now, the footage is finished. It's already been edited. We're still working on the sound. It'll be a 5.1 surround mix, and I'm very happy with the result. The Tokyo show was 2.5 hours long, and we are going to release it first in Japan before the summer, and I think after the summer it'll be the rest of the world.
Is it the entire concert, like with, all night long, picture live, backstage? I mean, is it exactly?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the full deal. It's not, I mean, some songs, there are a couple of songs that didn't make it onto the album, I guess, and vice versa. But it's the same program. I mean, it's basically my Scorpions Revisited program.
Gotcha.
And yes, and we started with All Night Long, just like we did in the days of Tokyo Tapes.
What was it about the original Tokyo Tapes from 77 was it? That made it so... 78, that's right, 78. Well, that's a long time ago. Oh, my God, I'm getting old. Oh, my God. What was it that was so special about the original one? Because it really is one of those live albums that, here we are 40 years later, almost 40 years later. It still sounds great. The energy of the band is still great. Your playing is great. It's up there with... Frampton Comes Alive and Cheap Trick at Budokan and all those great live albums. What was it for you that was just captured this moment?
At that time it was really my farewell concert with the Scorpions, and that was the special thing. It was kind of a culmination of 5 years of touring and recording with that band, and we were kind of at our peak at that time, playing wise. So I think that got captured on tape, and maybe that's why it was so successful. I was surprised by the success because I didn't really anticipate it, but it went around the world, and it became a favorite among those live albums that you just mentioned, like Live in Japan and Frampton Comes Alive, several of that ilk.
Yeah, and those all great albums. Now, as part of the 50th anniversary, the Scorpions have re-released it with all kinds of bonus tracks and all that. The one thing I've wanted to know, because on those 50th anniversaries, they interview you, they interview Klaus and Rudolph, of course, and they interview Herman. They didn't invite back Francis Buchholz. Do you know why that might be? Why they might have just left Francis aside?
Yeah, it's a political situation.
Okay.
There's still some disagreement about the past tax issues, and it's highly complicated. Believe me, I've spoken to the Scorpions about this, I've spoken to Francis about this, and there is a rift, and it is quite painful. I sometimes, as an outsider, have the feeling that nobody really understands what really went on, including the Scorpions. So I don't quite understand that this rift still exists. I'm more like a peacemaker kind of person, and I've tried to make that kind of peace with them. But it's a moot subject, and that's the reason why Francis was not part of that. That's all. I cannot speak for Scorpions or for Francis. They have to do that themselves. I can only give
Right.
my own perspective, and my own perspective is one of bewilderment. You know, but that's it. Because I'm friends with both of them. I get on great with the Scorpions, and I get on great with Francis. I've got no issues with any of that. But yeah, there was a falling out, and it's so far never been amicably resolved, and one cannot gloss that over, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is
just
unfortunate.
It's like a marriage gone horribly wrong, and these things do happen, and with human beings, you know. And sometimes I wonder why it has to be that way, but hey, it's just life, you know. That is life.
It is, and it just
all
seems...
I can say is Francis was a very important part of that band for all these years. He's been a stalwart, and I've never had a problem with him. You know, there was a big disagreement about, there was a big tax issue, the German tax, and there was a big disagreement about how to handle that. And I think Francis being on one side of the finance, had a different perspective than the others in the Scorpions, and they fell out over this. This is what I can see from the distance, you know. But as I said, I'm not really qualified to talk about that other than what I've just said, you know.
Yeah, I'll just add, just from the fans' perspective, though, you know, I bought these 50th anniversaries, and it would have been nice because he was, in my opinion, important to the sound of all the albums that he played on. And
oh, absolutely. He was very important to the sound, and he brought a lot to the table. I mean, that this cannot be denied.
Well, anyway.
It's just one of these situations, you know. I mean, you need to ask the Scorpions these questions.
Yeah, I'll ask.
I'm just somebody on the side by now because I'm not in that band anymore, you know, and they make their own decisions, and it's political, as I would call it, you know, euphemism.
Yeah,
it's one of these things.
The diplomatic way to put it. You did Scorpions Revisited, Tokyo Tapes Revisited is coming out. Would you ever consider taking some of the songs that they did in the 80s, like Rock You Like a Hurricane, that you never played on, and sort of ULI-fy them and release the ULI takes of Scorpions in the 80s?
I've never thought about that. Probably this would be stretching it a little far because these are 100% their songs. I've got really nothing to do with it, other than having provided part of the bedrock that they stand on. They've written great songs, and they have all reason to be proud of that. I mean, there is, in fact, one song that I might well want to cover. It's called Send Me an Angel. You know, I think it's my favorite of what they've written. After I left it, I think it's absolutely beautiful, you know, and yeah, I could actually maybe as a special tribute, sneak that into a set now and then just because I like it so much, you know. But other than that, I mean, Rock You Like a Hurricane is great riff also. And so are various others. You know, but I've got so many things to do, so it's very unlikely that this would come to fruition, you know?
Yeah. Right.
Very unlikely.
It could be interesting. Now, after this tour with Jennifer and Andy ends, what's next for you? Is it back into the studio for a new album? Is it another guitar tour? Where do you go from here?
I'm working on a new album. We're already rehearsing some of the new material. And I have more tours lined up, yeah. Some of them are acoustic tours. I'm going to do an acoustic tour in Greece. I'm going to do an acoustic tour of Russia and Eastern Europe in the autumn. Yeah, I'll be busy this year. I'll be very busy.
When you say you're working on new songs, are you working on songs with vocal, or is it back to an instrumental
with
album?
Vocal.
Okay.
No. It's a vocal album. There's also at least one instrumental on it, but most of it is vocal. Yeah.
Okay, and
as have been most of my recent releases, or several, I guess.
and
I've done both.
And the tours, will there be? And I know you said there'll be an acoustic tour. Will there be another package with 2 or 3 people? And if so, do we know who?
I could see that in the future because I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm enjoying this concept. If I find the right people, yes. Andy and Jennifer are certainly the right people, and I'll try to do something again with them in the future. But you never know. It's always these things are difficult to put together because to find a big chunk of time from 3 artists is sometimes difficult to pull off. Yeah, I can certainly see more ultimate guitar experience. I think it's a great concept, and this tour has proven that we're onto something. And every night we're pushing the envelopes, and the audiences are lapping it up, as you saw yesterday yourself.
Yeah, in fact,
it's like that virtually every evening, and yeah, so far, knock on wood. Every night has been successful.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like but I was surprised at the success yesterday, not because of you, but because Montreal on a Wednesday night in the city. I know, no, but people like to stay home in Montreal, huh? And it was packed. You could not move. I mean, it was sold out. It was elbow to elbow, and. Yeah. And I was more surprised, not because of you, but because it was Montreal on a Wednesday. I went, wow, people don't go out in Montreal. And they did for you. So that was just phenomenal to see.
The Canadian audiences have been very good to me. And they keep coming to the shows. We also played in Vancouver, and that was my first ever show in Vancouver. And it was also a great kind of turnout, which, yeah, you don't know that before you actually have been there, you know. Toronto was very good. So, and I have a feeling that tomorrow Ottawa is also going to be good.
Yeah, Ottawa is going to be great. And that bar that I've mentioned over and over, the Brass Monkey, is a great little venue.
The Brass Monkey.
It's a great venue. We were just going to do an update because we had done that hour before. So I'll just finish with this, which is sort of a random question. But the song In Trance has always been my favorite Scorpion songs. I'll be in the middle of writing something, talking to somebody, and it'll come on, and I just have to stop to listen. What does that song represent for you? Because you're still playing it. What did it represent for the band? Any kind of special stories with it?
It has kind of evolved into a little bit of an early Scorpions anthem, particularly the way we're playing it, as you've seen yesterday. When we first did it, I thought it was interesting, but it was never like one of my particular favorites. Particularly, I always thought it was kind of difficult to play live back then with just 2 guitars. Now we've got the full grip on that, and we're replicating all the harmony lead guitars as on the album, and now I'm enjoying it every night. So that song has really grown in my mind, and I think we're doing it full justice on stage, which is not such an easy thing to do with a song that has such an unusual structure. And the story I remember is Klaus and Rudolph wrote the
song,
the verse. I think this verse I remember, and we were playing in, I think it was a church, in the middle of nowhere in the mountains in Belgium. Yes, and they used to write songs together, like during in the dressing rooms. They were always at it. I used to usually keep my stuff to myself, and I tended to write it more at home. But they were always at it in the dressing rooms, and that was one of those songs. As was Still Loving You, which was already in the making when I was still there,
That would be a fun one to have you
that's what I
redo too,
remember.
by the way.
Yeah.
Still Loving You with your guitar solo and that sensibility, I think that would sound
That would
wild.
have worked. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
would
would
have
have.
worked.
Well,
Yeah, although it's not one of my favorite Scorpion songs. You know, that particular one. I do prefer In Trance, but Still Loving You was the bigger hit. Although a lot of that had also to do with the time. You know, once the Scorpions got into that territory, they just reached a lot more people. You know, In Trance also had the potential to be a bit of a hit, I think, but it was much earlier.
yeah. And anyway, that song works in any format. The band recently has been doing it acoustic in special occasions, and it works acoustic. It works the way you did it last night. It was absolutely stunning. It works on the album. It's just a great song.
Yeah.
You know, thank you for the update, and thank you for the show last night.
Thanks for looking after me yesterday. You know,
absolutely.
with the run and all that. That was cool.
Yeah, we'll drive you to and back from the next hotel in Ottawa too. You'll see you got a better setup tomorrow. It's going to be great.
Nice.
And
Nice.
always a pleasure. So we shall see you tomorrow. I shall be there at about 6:00.
See you tomorrow, Mitch.
Thank you, Uli.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye
You're
now.
welcome.
And there you have it, folks. My interview with not one, but two Scorpions greats. Up front, Herman Rarebell, and right now you just heard ULI JON ROTH. Please check me out on Twitter at Mitch Lafon, and the Facebook page is one-on-one Mitch Lafon. If you like what you are doing and would like to support the podcast, I have a PayPal address. It is mitchminute@aol.com. Anything would help, so there you go. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed the interviews, and I will be back next week with a whole bunch of guests, including Anthrax's Joey Belladonna. Till then, see ya. Bye for now.